So this sketch definitely didn't go the way I expected. In fact, while I was working on it, there were a few moments where I felt like it was heading to be a complete disaster. But I want to walk you through what went wrong and what I did to try to save it, as well as what I learned in the process. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Today I'll be using my Pilot Kakuno fountain pen in a mixed media sketchbook. Now, the mixed media paper is important because it will prevent my markers from completely bleeding through my paper. Okay, so my intent is to keep this one loose, and that means no pencil pre-sketching. I just want to work on keeping both the pen and the colors loose, which, honestly, was probably the wrong approach for this scene, but we'll get into that later. Alright, so as you can see from my reference photo, this scene is very geometric. There's a lot of straight lines, boxy windows, and overlapping shapes. So before I draw anything, you probably noticed that I added some reference points to the page. Now I'm using these little marks to help anchor the entire building. They'll let me check my proportions early, and they're going to be a really good gauge to make sure that everything stays somewhat square. I'm not trying to be perfect with this one, but getting these first few lines straight is imperative to how the rest of the drawing is going to turn out. Now, using those reference points, you can see that I've started to add my primary lines that bisect the scene. These lines will become my anchor points, and from those, I will build outward. I'll start by marking in the basic shapes of the balcony windows. Now, all of these will become my primary lines, and these are the lines that I'm going to be using to help place my other features in my scene. I will be constantly referring back to these primary elements to help place additional detail, such as the other window frames, the doorways, and the roof architecture. And I'm going to always be double checking my spacing and placement between these elements. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to where I start to wrap up the foundation sketch. And now that I have those foundation lines down and all of my major elements roughed in, I'm going to start to refine the framework by going back over my initial line work. Now, doubling up and tripling up these lines is going to add to that messy, loose sketch feel. But it will also help me make some small corrections to my existing line work. I do want to point out that I am still keeping the pen way back in my grip, letting the line quality stay loose. Now, if you're enjoying this, please consider liking and subscribing. Okay, I want to talk about this next stage that I'm getting into, of refining these lines a little bit. And this is going to solve a few different problems at once. First, as I just mentioned, I can make some small corrections to my lines. I'll fix lines that drifted a bit and correct lines that tighten up the shapes to help better define my elements. Now, second, refining the lines darken them up a little bit, which can add a natural contrast, but it also helps me see those true shapes. And third, this is where I can sneak in some early detail work. For example, if you watch close, you'll notice that around the windows and doorways, I'm adding extra line work to suggest the frames. When I get to the air conditioning units, I'll sneak in some more detail. And as I jump around, you may even notice that I may stop at a spot here or there to start working out some more detail. Now, as a heads up, this is going to be a common occurrence throughout this sketch. That is to say, I will jump around a lot. I do try really hard not to camp out in one spot, and that is always a temptation, especially when something is starting to look cool. I want to continue at it. But I also want the looseness to stay consistent across the whole scene. So one way I do that is to keep my pen moving, hopping around, maybe building up the detail a little more in some spots, but trying to keep moving so everything stays loose and sketchy. Now, once I reach a certain point where the scene is starting to take shape and all of the main elements are there and I'm satisfied with the placement, I'm going to move over to the final pass of my line refinement. Now, I would consider this more of an extension of the previous phase than a clearly separate part of the sketch, and that is just to say that I'm continuing to build up the texture over multiple passes. However, this is where I'm going to start to add the finer detail. I'll punch up certain areas that need more contrast and start to introduce my textures. Speaking of texture, I want to talk about a tip when using your fountain pen. For the wood panels, I used the back side of my pen to get a much finer stroke. I wanted to capture a hint of wood grain, but I knew that my normal pen stroke would be much too bold. So to resolve this, I have to make a really thin line, and to do this, I use the back side of my pen to make a thinner line, and I had to be really delicate with my line work. I was trying to hold the pen in such a way that it barely touches the surface of my paper, dragging it very gently to try to get the thinnest line possible. Now, I will continue to add detail, and you'll notice that I often use this trick of drawing with the backside of my pen. Now, this scene is full of texture and tiny details. All of the texture really appealed to me in the beginning, and I was excited to sketch this, but as I try to capture all this intricate detail, it's kind of about this time that I'm starting to realize that I may have gone with the wrong approach. My pen can barely keep up with the intricacies at the scale I chose to draw this. And I'm kind of wondering if I should have started smaller and just tried to draw out a small section of this instead. Now, this is just a passing thought at this point, but it's going to grow over the length of this sketch. Now, right now, I am still eager to draw out all of the detail, and I'm hopeful that it will come together in the end. I really do like the visual aesthetic of texture. The reference photo here has some great horizontal and vertical lines throughout. When I draw the corrugated metal, I'm going to add evenly spaced strokes to show that repeating pattern. Now, essentially, these are just hatch lines. However, since these are for a texture and not just to add value, I do want them to be a little more precise, which means that I'm going to be taking my time and go a little slower than I normally would if they were true hatch lines. Now, I'm going to jump ahead a bit to complete all of the texture work. Okay, at this point, I'm starting to like my scene. I like all of the line work, and I'm starting to feel more confident with where it's going. Now, my plan going into this sketch was to leave most of the heavy value work for the coloring stage. So, at this point, I really wasn't planning to push my values anymore with my pen. Now, in theory, that sounded great, let the markers do all the work, but, well, as you'll see, this idea didn't exactly hold up in practice. Okay, now that I'm at a point where I'm satisfied with my line work, this is where I jump into coloring. I'm going to start by laying down a neutral tone across some of my major areas. This is just a quick base color that I can build from. Now, if you've watched many of my coloring videos, you'll notice that my approach varies. It's really based on how I feel and what I want to experiment with at that time. I still like to try different things, and I feel like I'm still learning through this exploration. In the past, I have added shadows first, but for this sketch, I am going to try something different. And I do want to talk about that approach that I intended to take. So my current marker set only has 36 colors, so I know I'm not going to be able to match my colors perfectly, but my plan was to start by adding some base tones everywhere and then push those bases toward the final colors by layering and mixing them. And you'll see me switch colors frequently trying to build them up. And you may also notice that I'm bouncing around a lot again. Moving around this much on the page probably shows my indecisiveness, but I do this because I am letting some of the colors dry so they don't blend too fast, and I'm also moving around because I really am uncertain of how to approach a certain area, or even how to finish a section that I've started. Moving to another area just gives me time to think about how I want to approach those sections. Okay, so back to my initial idea for how I wanted to handle the coloring for the sketch. The idea was to start with a light base color, move over to adjusting the hues by layering my colors, and then finally push those values and add shadows at the end. Now, at this point, that still sounds like a pretty reasonable plan. And since I'm new-ish to working with alcohol markers, I'm slowly getting used to how they blend and how they mix, and especially how unpredictable they can be once that paper gets saturated. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that I am test mixing many of my color combinations on a separate sheet off camera. This is just going to help me figure out how to nudge a color in one direction or the other. I'm not doing this with every color, but just the colors that I need a little more confidence in. Okay, at this point, I do want to take a moment and talk about color theory. This is where some basic knowledge of color theory really helps. When you understand that every color is essentially built from red, blue, and yellow, you can look at a color and start spotting which color is missing and how to fix it. And you can take that one step further too. If you understand how those primary colors blend into the secondary colors of purple, orange, and green, Then you have more options on how you can push colors subtly in a direction. Okay, speaking of building colors, I want to share a few tips on pushing your colors. And these are things that you're going to see me do on this sketch. If a color is too vibrant, you'll see me take it down with a warm gray or even a colorless blending marker. The warm gray will neutralize the color, and the blending marker will physically push that color into the paper more so it's a little more faint and not so strong. Okay, as you can see, I've continued to bounce around a lot. And another reason that this works for me is that it can give my eyes some time to focus on other areas that I'm coloring before returning to the previous colored areas. Now, I'm not sure how to explain this, but I feel like this kind of rests my eyes, allowing me to see the color again for the first time, making it easier for me to spot if that color doesn't look right. Now, as you watch this entire video, you'll notice that there are several areas in my scene that I'm going to be addressing. That is to say that I'll be constantly revisiting these colors, touching them up over the length of this video. Okay, I'm starting to wrap up my major coloring, and this is about the time that I'm starting to panic. You see, I expected to see much more definition in my sketch, and instead I feel like everything is blending together in a big, ugly mass of color and lines. I know that I still have the final phase next, which is to add my values, but I was hoping for more separation and contrast at this point, and there really isn't any. Now, I know I'm going to be able to get some of that back with my values, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the magic lifesaver I'm looking for. Okay, so eventually there's going to be a point where I'm going to call all of my major coloring done, even though right now I think it looks really flat. And as I mentioned earlier, I will sometimes add the value phase at the beginning of my sketch to help me map out the form. But for this one, I saved that for last, and after this experience, I'm pretty sure my next drawing I'll stick with the values first. Now, I think if I would have started with my values first, I could have instantly seen where this was going to go wrong, and hopefully that would have given me a better chance at fixing this quicker and kind of getting an idea of how to approach the rest of this sketch. But let's get back to the value phase. I'm going to start by adding some medium grays, both neutral and warm tones, and then I'll also include a dark neutral gray to build up that contrast. The first thing I'm going to do is use those medium gray markers, and I'm going to place my shadows anywhere where I want dimension in my scene. This is any surface that sticks out or anywhere that I can tuck a shadow underneath. For example, under the awning, below the pipes, or along the underside of the balconies and so on. Now, this normally brings dimension back to the scene, but on this sketch, it's not really doing as much as I was hoping it would do. And this is the point where I'm starting to realize what's really going on. But I also know that I need to make my way through the entire process of adding all of my values before I can make a determination on what to do about it. Okay, after my medium tones have been added, I'm going to go back over my sketch again with the darker gray marker. I'm using the Copic C7 for this, and my goal here is to find the darkest areas in my scene to touch up with some contrast. Now, I'm starting to quickly realize that I'm not getting the contrast that I want to, and to attempt to fix this, you'll see me switch over to the black marker. And while this does help a little bit, it is giving me a little bit more value, it's still not going far enough and it still kind of feels really flat. Now, while I'm working on the markers trying to salvage my values, I do want to talk about what went wrong. As I continue to push those values, I'm noticing that my line work is fading. So what's happening is that all of the layers of alcohol markers are causing my line work to go dull and to lose dimension. On top of that, the paper was so saturated with alcohol at this point that any darker colors I tried to add would just bloom and fade instantly. It really didn't give me that sharp contrast that I was looking for, and that's kind of when I realized I was finding the limitations of my markers. Now, knowing that I'm running up against some limitations, I am still analyzing my scene, and it's apparent that this reference photo has a lot going on. The textures are fighting textures, colors are competing for focus, layers of materials are stacked over layers of materials. And to make that work, I needed some strong visual hierarchy, and I just wasn't getting it in my sketch. What I needed to do was to pay careful attention to prioritize my elements, something I didn't do. And it was kind of at this point I had the brief thought of scrapping my sketch altogether. But this is a part of practicing. You run into issues and you either figure out how to navigate them or use them as a learning opportunity. And that's kind of where I was at. I wanted to keep going to at least see if I could try to salvage the sketch. My hope was that I could add a little bit more contrast back in using some other techniques. Now, I mentioned my line work was faded, so I grabbed my fountain pen again to add some more line work on top of my sketch. I'm really focusing on trying to get some extra contrast. Using a little bit more pressure on the pen than before, I'm going to go back over certain areas to add thick, bold lines to hopefully reestablish some separation and to add some definition. I'll continue to do this over the entire sketch, and as you will see, it is going to bring back a little bit more of that much needed interest and structure to my line work. Now, as I continue to add to my line work, I do want to talk about what I learned from this sketch. This was a large and detailed scene. I was really excited to jump into it, but I really should have tested a small section of the scene ahead of time. Taking a small section of the scene to try out would let me run into those issues early on and at a smaller scale. And hopefully that would allow me to make the needed adjustments to set myself up for the best possible outcome. It would have allowed me to work out any of the coloring or detail issues quickly. Next, I learned how quickly this paper can max out from alcohol saturation. I got to a point where my colors would just bloom right away, making it difficult to do any precision coloring. The colors would instantly fade, preventing my sketch from holding any rich values. I also learned that combining a loose, textured sketch with an overly detailed and high contrast scene can cause some issues where the elements are just competing against one another. And even worse, when I introduced the array of colors, it didn't help anything. Overall, this made my sketch susceptible to being very dense and losing visual hierarchy. So as I start to wrap up this sketch, you can see that it's flawed, messy, and definitely not what I had in mind when I started, but it's still valuable. I think I saved it more than I thought I could initially, and honestly, I'm happy with that. And I want to leave you with this. If you take anything away from this, I hope it's that your struggles are part of the process. Every almost disaster teaches you something you can't learn any other way. Now, if I'm being honest with myself, I will probably make some of these mistakes again before the lessons are truly ingrained in me, but that's my learning process. I'm used to that. And since I know this is going to happen again, I'm not going to be discouraged by it. And if you decide to sketch along with me or try your own version, I hope you stay loose, experiment, and don't be afraid to push through those rough moments. And as you can see, there's the final sketch. I really did enjoy this one, and I'm glad I went through it. And if you already haven't, please give this a like and subscribe.